Hi guys, before we start, I wanted to begin by saying thank you to everyone who commented, to all of you who read last week's article and watched the video. I'm so glad you liked it. I got a lot of positive feedback and I'm just so happy. I think that this book club could be something that's really fun, especially during a time like this, and I just hope it brings you some joy during this COVID-19 and then moving forward. Like, we're going through the Harry Potter books and I haven't read them in a while. Like I said, it's gonna be just a really good time. But I wanted to start by making an announcement. As you'll see in this week's article, I'm going to spotlight one of your comments every week at the beginning of each video and just talk about it, talk about what you said, what I think about it. So yeah, it's not a challenge, but you know, just comment, tell me your thoughts, and then you might see your face and your words in the video. So this week, the comment I'm going to spotlight is from Carson Barker. I'll show you what he said, but I'll read it too. He said, "I'm going to say something that might be controversial, but Dudley is an awesome character. His arc is incredible, even if we don't see him that often. He is a byproduct of awful parenting. He can't help that his parents spoil him and also abuse his cousin. I think we forget that these are children. They are molded by the parents. Not only that, but I think he's terribly bullied. We see glimpses of this by Hagrid in the first book, Fred and George in later books, but I believe at school as well. No wonder he lets those feelings of frustration and anger out on Harry. He's just mimicking what he sees. The redemption story, although it is a minimal scene in the last book, to me is really touching to see and shows that individual responsibility really plays a role in how you handle relationships." So, yay! Thank you, Carson. That was an awesome thought. I've always thought Dudley's a sympathetic character, especially like you said, we see the transition he goes through at the end, but I'd never thought about him being bullied. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Especially after this first book, we see, I think he's motivated by fear. He's constantly running from Harry all the time. He acts out because of this, especially with the incident with Hagrid, and then like you said, Fred and George. So I just think that was an excellent point. And Dudley's someone I'm definitely going to be thinking about more as we read about his times at the Dursleys, and might even do a little focus in on what he's going through at that time. So thank you very much. So yeah, that's our first comment spotlight. Now, this is completely subjective, and it's not that there's ever bad comments, but if you say something that's super interesting that I've never thought about, yeah, we'll talk about it at the beginning of these videos. So, it's gonna be fun. So please post comments. I love learning new things, and there's just so much that can come out of books from different perspectives, so I'd love to hear what you think about it. So, without further ado, let's talk about Chapter 2 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Muggles and Mocha. We are on our second video of this series, Chapter 2 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And if you're new here, first of all, hello. I'm Madison, and this video is connected to the blog of my freelance editing website, madisonkdarby.com. I offer some book editing services there, so if you're interested, go check it out. I have a contact page that you can reach me through, and I also have a blog that covers, of course, this Harry Potter book club, and also some writing tips, as well as some other literary features that are going to be coming out here soon. Very excited. And yeah, welcome to Muggles and Mocha. We're a Harry Potter book club. We're going through every chapter. I have to say, it's hard reading the books this slowly because I just want to keep going, but I want to give it its due. I really like the process so far in going through chapter by chapter, because obviously I can talk a long time about all of this, so we're going to keep up at it, unless of course there's a chapter whose content would be better if we joined it together. So pull out your book, pull out your coffee. I am using today one of my favorite mugs from Foster Coffee Company in Owasso, Michigan. This is not a paid sponsorship or whatever. They're just so awesome. and I miss them a whole lot. So if you're ever in Owasso, Michigan, Foster's, they're great. So we are in chapter 2 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Vanishing Glass. Okay, so at this point, 10 years have passed. Harry is a young little 10-year-old, and we see that his life is not exactly glamorous. It's actually kind of the opposite. He's living with the Dursleys, who we met in chapter 1, and from what we know about them, we kind of already knew this was coming. I mean, they obviously didn't like Harry's parents. They hate magic, and so perfect storm. They have Harry, and they're treating him pretty terribly. He's living in a cupboard under the stairs with spiders. I'm sure that's not what Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Hagrid expected of this boy who is famous in the wizarding world. And actually, my article for this week about chapter 2 is about Harry's optimism and strength and how he's able to cultivate that in such an environment, and how it really tells us about who he is. It's a bit of a character profile. It was very fun to write, and I think that J.K. Rowling does a good job introducing us to who our protagonist is going to be as far as his character and personality. So yeah, check that out. We start by getting a glimpse into Harry's life during Dudley's birthday. Dudley is also a 10-year-old. Maybe he's turning 11 at this point. Maybe it's his 11th birthday. Either way, this kid, gosh. Part of me, I didn't put this in the article, but part of me wonders if Harry is the way he is, as in pleasant, because he's learned to appreciate the simpler things in life. I mean, he's living with this kid who gets everything his heart desires, and yet Dudley is miserable. He's constantly pretending to cry. No one wants to be around him when it comes to his friends, except for if they like beating up people and being his little teammates. It's like everyone fears him, and I'm pretty sure Harry doesn't want to be like him at all. So maybe that's why Harry is so funny. He says some funny things in this chapter. I just love his inner voice. It's something else. We see Dudley opening his presents, throwing a fit because he doesn't have enough. Harry's cooking them breakfast. Man, we just really see that Harry is not in a good situation here. His glasses are constantly broken from getting punched in the face by Dudley, so perfect beginning for our hero here. So yeah, it's Dudley's birthday. We see that they have big plans. They're gonna throw Harry off onto Mrs. Fig. And by the way, cool cameo from Mrs. Fig. If you've read the books, you know that she's actually involved in the wizarding world and is kind of there looking after Harry this whole time. Which, you know, makes me wonder, like, Hagrid's very surprised to find out that Harry doesn't know anything about his past, Hogwarts, his parents, the magical world. Why wasn't Mrs. Fig, like, doing her job? I mean, I guess she was supposed to be just looking after him. I don't know. I just find it a little bit sketchy that Mrs. Fig was just sitting there like, he's fine. I mean, I'm sure maybe Dumbledore knew, and it was just, we know the importance of him being with the Dursleys so that he could be protected if Voldemort were ever to come back. But still, come on. She could have stepped in or something. They could have sent the Dursleys another letter being like, get your act together. I don't know. And I love how at the Dursleys, they just openly talk about Harry. So when they find out that Mrs. Fig can't keep him that day, they just start talking about Aunt Marge and how she hates him so he can't stay there, and that they don't want to take him with them. And Harry's just like, this is obviously something he experiences all the time. And so, of course, Dudley throws a big old fit. But then we meet Dudley's friend, Piers. I've always wanted to see what this kid looks like. He's described as having a face like a rat. I feel like I have the perfect image of him in my head. But anyway, we don't get the pleasure of meeting what just seems like a stand-up guy. And then they're on the way to the zoo. We learn about the strange things that have happened to Harry as he's grown up. And of course, we know this is his magic manifesting. But Harry doesn't seem to realize it's coming from him at all. Which, why would you? If I was a 10-year-old and just weird things were happening all the time and my parents were getting mad at me about it, I don't think my first guess would be magic. You know, I would just think it's bad luck, kind of like Harry does. We see he escapes Dudley by jumping on a roof of a cafeteria. His hair grows back magically overnight, a sweater shrinks, and yeah, he just doesn't seem to realize that this is something coming from him. You know, I'll talk a little bit about the question that I answered in the article, which is kind of interesting. It's about why Harry didn't become an Obscurus. This term is introduced in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them movies. Very interesting concept. And I talk about I say two. There's only one we know of for sure, Credence Barebone, yeah. But I think there's a strong possibility that Ariana Dumbledore could have been an Obscurus. Hot take, maybe? Tell me what you think about that. Please put that in the comments below. Do you think that Ariana Dumbledore could have been an Obscurus? We're gonna talk about that later, probably, although we don't really find out all about Ariana until the 7th book. And by that point, another Fantastic Beasts movie might be out and they might reveal this information. So at some point, we're gonna have a little discussion about Ariana. Maybe that'll be now. We'll do it at the end of the video, okay? We'll do it, I promise, because I really am afraid that they're gonna reveal that in the next movie. And I want us to be able to talk about it and discuss. So into the video, stay tuned, we'll talk about it. For Harry though, the reason he didn't become an Obscurus, J.K. Rowling actually answered this on her website, and I've included a link to that in the article and also a quote. And she talks about how obscurials, people who have an Obscurus, become that way because they're trying to actively stifle their magical abilities. And as we see, Harry doesn't seem to know that he has any. He thinks that all of these things that are happening to him are separate from him, that it's just really bad luck. And then also on the Dursleys' part, they're not going to mention magic to him at all. Actually, when Harry reflects on what the Dursleys get mad at him for, he talks about how they just don't like him talking about things acting in ways that they shouldn't. He doesn't use the word magic at all to describe it because I just don't think that would really be in his head, or an idea that he had, or that he would think that's the reason that they weren't doing it. So because of that, Harry, even though he was obviously abused and treated terribly, never tried to stop the things from happening because he didn't know that they were coming from him. The other people we see, Credence for instance, he was like, what, 18? In the movie that we see him in, he would have realized that he was making things happen at this point. His magic would have started coming faster and faster and faster, and he would have known that he was doing that. And if you've seen that movie, his mom is a witch hunter, literally. So he had to make sure that he wasn't showing that side of himself, which is how the Obscurus was formed. And, you know, we've seen up to that point. Moving on. So we get to the zoo. Harry's just having, it says, one of the best days he's had in a while. He gets a lemon ice pop. I think that's always one of my favorite things to think about when I read this scene is, you know, like Uncle Vernon's trying to rush him past the woman who's giving them ice cream, and then he has to end up getting an ice pop, but Harry's like, this is the bomb. I wonder if he's ever even had one before, really. So yeah, he's just having a good day, and then we enter the Reptile House. We see them walking around, looking at snakes. I don't know about y'all, but the Reptile House was always my favorite part of the zoo. And maybe it's because of this book series now that I think about it. I just always thought it was such a cool place. But yeah, Harry and his family are walking around the Reptile House, and Harry meets the boa constrictor, literally meets. He has a little conversation with him. And for us who have read the books, we know that this is actually kind of an intense moment. Not only is this a manifestation of Harry's magical powers, but it's the first time we see the gifts, for lack of a better word, that Harry has received as a result of his attack with Voldemort. Being a Horcrux and all that. Oh gosh, I hope all of you have read the books. You knew there were spoilers, you knew they were coming. Harry's a Horcrux. Okay, there it is. But anyway, this is the first manifestation of those abilities. We see his parcel tongue. And I wonder what Harry said to the snake. We see the snake winks at Harry, which means that I think Harry initiated this conversation. I don't think that the snake would have paid him any mind if he was just literally staring at him, because the snake sees that all the time, unless he's just winking at every visitor that comes in there. We see him relating to the snake. He's thinking about how at least he gets to go outside. This snake is crammed into this box all day, and he's just glad he gets to leave his cupboard, which, on another note, very sad. We really see Harry's compassion here. I mean, I hate the fact that Harry had the experiences he did, but I think that it did gift him with some good emotions that he has toward people. We see he's a very kind-hearted kid, and I think that it's because he was treated so terribly that, you know, he wants to treat people as well as he can. Opinion? I don't know. But anyway, so Harry obviously said something to this snake to make it wink at him. Which is interesting in itself, that he talked without even realizing he was talking. I don't know, interesting. So they have a little conversation. They talk about Brazil and the snake's homeland. I really hope that the snake got there, honestly. He seemed like a cool guy. Snake. Seems like a cool person. Snake, I don't know. He's neat. He seems nice. And for a snake. Do you guys remember that fan theory that was going around that maybe Nagini could have been the snake that Harry set free? I mean, I can see, I mean, it's a big snake and then we meet another big snake, but obviously this one is from Brazil, and Nagini we know was not. She was from Albania. But side note, okay, you're gonna hear me talking about the Fantastic Beasts series, and honestly, when the next movie comes out, I might even just make a video reviewing it and telling you what I think about it, because I love those movies. I know a lot of people don't like J.K. Rowling introducing a lot of new ideas, you know, like we've got the Obscurus, and then we have Nagini also. But I kind of like it. It's her world, and as long as everything kind of fits cohesively together, I'm down for it. It's new content, what can I say? But anyway, Nagini, really excited about how they've introduced her and how she's just so human. I don't want to get into this too much because I feel like I'm gonna want to talk about it when Nagini's actually introduced. But yeah, even just from those movies, we see that this lovely boa constrictor is not Nagini. She would have been with Voldemort at this point. Yeah, she would have been with Voldemort at this point. He's already on the back of Quirrell's head. And so they met in the Forest of Albania. So yeah, Nagini's already in the picture, just in a different place. I don't know where she is, but she's around. So back to our story. Dudley comes around being awful, once again, no surprise, and Harry makes the glass disappear as he and his friend are leaning against it. In the book, Dudley does not fall into the snake's cage. He doesn't get locked in it, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I think it makes it a little more realistic that he didn't go behind, and then it brings more action to the movie. Like, I don't really care that they changed that. It's still just as impactful. And then, of course, Harry is punished because the Dursleys are in the know and they know that Harry has magic and that this is his fault. Poor Harry, naive Harry, still doesn't realize he did this. Once again, I'm trying to put myself in the mindset, like if I was a 10-year-old and this happened, I wouldn't expect that I would be able to do something like that. But just with Harry talking to a snake, you'd think that he might have some inkling like, I did that. I don't know. Anyway, the Dursleys know he did, which is what's important, and he's punished for a very long time. It says until summer holidays. These people, like, what the heck? I'm hoping it was spring, at least. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just a month or two. I don't know. Poor Harry. So, at the end of the chapter, Harry reflects on what he remembers from his childhood, babyhood. I don't really know how he remembers this, but he remembers a flash of green light, burning pain on his forehead, and just assumes it's from the car crash, which is how he thinks his parents died. Super messed up on the Dursleys' part once again. And we end on kind of a grim note, really. Harry talking about how he basically has no one in his life. And I know I said I'm going to end with reading the paragraphs of these books, so I'm going to do that right now, even though it's sad. Okay, here it is. It's very short. At school, Harry had no one. Everybody knew that Dudley's gang hated that odd Harry Potter in his baggy old clothes and broken glasses, and nobody liked to disagree with Dudley's gang. So, Harry's locked in his cupboard. He's alone. It just really makes you appreciate what Hogwarts is for him, really. Like, not only does he learn he has magical powers, which is groundbreaking on its own, but he gets his first friends. You know, he gets Ron, Hermione, Hagrid, oh goodness, some professors that, you know, some of them don't like him, but a lot of them seem to care about him and actually be invested in who he is. And he gets Hedwig. I'm going to be talking up some Hedwig because, I mean, I love animals. It's not just because she's an owl, all right? It's because I think that she was like the only one who was there for him during the summers. Harry always had to return to the Dursleys' house during summer vacation, and the only thing, I would say person, I'm gonna say it, you know what? The only person he had was Hedwig, his only connection to the magical world, and I'm just so glad that J.K. Rowling included her in these books. Her death, honestly, I'm not kidding, don't judge. Hedwig's death is one of the hardest ones for me to take, especially in the movies, and I'll tell you why. So in the movies, it's a little different from the book. We're going to talk about this more when we get there, so I won't go into it too much. He's escaping the Death Eaters and Voldemort, and Hedwig is shot down. But as she's flying toward him, it's playing kind of the Harry Potter theme, you know. Oh dear, I'm going to sing for you, but da 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 da. It's playing that, but kind of in a minor key, and that song is actually called Hedwig's Theme. It just makes me so sad. Like, I hate that scene. I mean, it's masterfully done because it produces such emotion. But yeah, her flying to Hedwig's Theme and then to be cut out of the air, it just... Like I said, she was Harry's only companion during the summer vacation, so it's just a heartbreaking loss. So heartbreaking. I gotta get off of this. So, discussion of Ariana. So as we see in the 7th book, Ariana had outbursts, as Professor Dumbledore put it, and one of these outbursts killed her mother. And what we know about Ariana is that when she was a young girl, she was practicing her magic, it was happening. She was coming into her own. She was probably close to 11, about to go to Hogwarts. And some Muggle boys saw what was happening, and we don't really know what happened, but they attacked her. It seems pretty violently if she wasn't able to go to Hogwarts. I don't really know what was done there, but it was to the point that her father attacked the Muggles and was put in Azkaban, so I imagine it was something horrific. And because of that, she tried to stop her abilities from happening because she would have connected them with that experience. Gosh, I really hope more is revealed about that because there's so many questions. I feel like it's going to be heartbreaking to find out what happened, but we just know it was something really bad. So after this, she starts having these outbursts, which really seem like what's happening to Credence in the Fantastic Beasts movie. Those kill people, like what he does kills people, and what happened to her killed Dumbledore's mother. So possibility, Obscurus, and then there's also the fact that Grindelwald starts going after Credence, and I think it's because he realized that Ariana was an Obscurus and the power that she held, and we know that unfortunately Ariana did die. Grindelwald was there, as well as Dumbledore and his brother Aberforth, and there was a fight, someone hit Ariana, and she died. But I just really, I think that Grindelwald found out what she was and realized that there were others like her in the world. And that's why he goes and finds Credence. I don't know. This whole thing is making me want to make a video about Fantastic Beasts theories. Maybe we'll do that before the next movie comes out, like when it's close to being out there in theaters. Because I would love, now there's just things spinning in my head. We've got like Nagini, Credence and his identity. Gosh, yeah, this is definitely gonna be a thing, I promise. With that, I think it's time to wrap up this video. Next week, we'll be covering chapter 3, and honestly, this is one of the chapters I am seriously considering joining it with chapter 4, because it's a lot of build-up up until Hagrid comes, and then we find out a lot from Hagrid. It would be a lot of content to mesh together, but I'll keep you posted. Thank you for tuning in to Muggles and Mocha. I'll see you next week, and just have a good one. Bye.